So I'll try to be as concrete and concise as possible because I think that, well, not think, but I'm sure that this issue is very important to all of us, not only the ones who are here, but the ones who are dealing with this topic all days long. But okay, I'm a bit of ahead of myself. My name is Goran Lukič and I'm from Counseling Office for Workers. It's a small NGO. We deal with lots of issues. Somebody would say, unfortunately, because there are lots of issues to deal with regarding not only occupational health and safety, but also regarding the living and social conditions of the workers. We started as an NGO which specifically works with the migrant workers, but now we are getting a bit broader with issues. As Emma was saying, there are lots and lots of cases which has to be dealt, and I will try to concretely talk about one case. And I'm really sorry that somebody would hear this case for the second or even third time, but this is exactly the point which I'm trying to raise, because this very case that I will talk about is almost ongoing case which really emphasizes all the problems which posted ordinary workers can encounter when a thing like occupational, let's say, injury happens to him or her. So if we start, of course, with the beginning, we go on. Okay. So what happened, or what is the case about this worker? Well, I will talk really directly about the names, so I will not bother to be correct about disguising the employer and things like that, because all these informations are already publicly known and they're already transferred to the responsible public institutions and also, for example, Labor Inspectorate. So the name of the worker is Goran Lukič. He lives now in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but what happened to him, the first information that we got about his situation was in July 2016, and we got a call from a social worker from the rehabilitation center Socha, which is nearby, to say so, in Ljubljana. Well, everything is near in Ljubljana. So the matter was concerning the patient Goran Lukič. So he was in treatment in rehabilitation after a serious spinal injury and suffered, as you can see, an occupational accident. This occupational accident occurred in Belgium, in construction site in Antwerp. So it was really a really horrible accident, and this accident made this worker a handicapped person because he fell 5 meters from the rooftop directly on the ground, and the condition of him is not so good. So as you can see, we can go on. So what basically happened? Basically, the thing that happened that he was posted from the Slovenian company. The name of the company is quite strange, SOVA 3. Well, there are lots of companies which have strange names which are posting workers. Some of them even don't have any imagination. They're just, putting the names like, name 1, name 2, name 3, and so on. So one of these companies which were posting, I'm sure that I can assure that, probably is still posting the workers to Germany, is SOVA 3. The head of this office is in small town Radlje ob Dravi. Well, the accident occurred on the 9th of March 2016. As I was saying, the roof of the building just collapsed beneath the worker, and he fell down 5 meters and really injured badly himself. As you can see, he suffered severe spinal injuries, and this was the beginning of his really problematic period of the life, and we will see what will happen afterwards. But what happened directly after the injury, he was taken to the hospital in Antwerp, in Belgium, and he's been hospitalized for some time in there, from 9th of March until the 30th of May 2016, and then he was transferred to Slovenia. First he was transferred to the medical center of Ljubljana, and then after some time he was transferred to Socha Rehabilitation Center. So now you can get the picture what happened. So basically a worker was working his job as a posted worker in construction site in Belgium. This could be a worker which is doing his job in construction site in Germany, in Austria, I don't know where. And then you can see what happened. So we will see what is happening right now. with this worker. So the first month, he didn't get, well, when he was in treatment, we must emphasize that when he was in treatment with his hospitals in Belgium, in Slovenia, he didn't get a proper or no wage compensation from the employer. So on ground of that information, we filed the case to the labor inspector for Slovenia. So this is, let's say, not the first, but also one of the issues which goes around also about his situation, social economic situation. Consequently, he was left without money. So what to do? Should we wait that, I don't know, the money come out of nowhere? So we did start, let's say, a small-scale public awareness campaign regarding the situation of Zahrudin, and we were able to raise a certain amount of money, 3,000 euros that was transferred to him so that he can fulfill all the basic life needs, basically. I'm saying this again, this was like a public awareness campaign, to get the funding. So this is public funding campaign. So this was not like a systematic issue, this was a thing of necessity. Basically, the worker didn't have any means then, so he would just have to, wait for the employer. The employer would say one day, okay, now I will give you the money. But this is, regarding these employers, I would say that you can wait and wait and wait. But okay, so we were able to raise some money for the worker. This was the first, let's say, not scenario, the first action that we did regarding his social situation. And then a thing happened which wasn't at all pleasant to the worker. He got a receipt or invoice, to say so, from the Belgian hospital. So the worker, to go back a bit, so first of all, he was really injured. He got a spinal injury, he's handicapped. He was left without money. So the employer basically left him. He gave him some amount of money, but not as required for the Slovenian law. And then afterwards, in September 2016, he got a letter from the Belgian hospital in which was stated that he has to pay for hospital services the amount of money which was 2,951 euros. So the worker has to pay this amount of money. So we really were, I wouldn't say astonished, but it's quite politically correct wording, but we were almost horrified when we saw that invoice. Now you can imagine the situation of the worker when he got this receipt or invoice from the Belgian hospital. So then we started to ask what is happening. So what basically happened, that the whole invoice that was transferred to us for the service in the hospital in Belgium was about 50,000 euros. And this amount of 2,951 euros was like a participation fee. And okay, so what can we do now with this invoice? It has to be, supposedly it has to be paid. It has to be paid directly to the hospital, and that's it. So the hospital was waiting that this invoice would be paid. So we were trying to, let's say, resolve this issue in a way that we filed this case to the Health Institute of Slovenia. We asked them, okay, this worker doesn't have money, so is it possible that the Health Institute of Slovenia directly refunds this amount of money and then try to get this money from the employer? Unfortunately, we got an answer from the Health Institute of Slovenia, quite long one. I won't say, every wording here because it's quoting lots of international, directives and laws and so on and so forth. But at the end, according to that, we are saying that we cannot refund this money. So this was, the second also bad news that we received. What can we do now? So there was an invoice which has to be paid, obviously. The Health Institute of Slovenia was saying we cannot pay because there is, a legal framework which is in Europe, which is stating that each state has some certain individual, let's say, legal frameworks regarding about the health issues when and how they can be paid if you are a posted worker. So there was still a question, what can we do now with this worker and his invoice? In all this time, now you can imagine what was happening with the worker. He was still in treatment, he was still, of course, in pain, and then in his mind, he was thinking what to do with this money. So where can I get 3,000 euros, almost 3,000 euros? We tried to do as much as possible, which can be done, of course, regarding the, let's say, legal framework, not only in Slovenia, but also the international. So we contacted Slovenia Social Center for the, let's say, first step. And then we got the money from the Slovenian Social Center in the amount of 450 euros. And then this money was directly transferred to the Belgian hospital. But still, there was still 2,500 euros left. So what to do with these 2,500 euros? How to pay this? So we did almost exactly the same scenario as in the first case. We tried to do, let's say, like a small-scale campaign, fundraising campaign regarding where to get this money. So we sent a letter to the Red Cross of Slovenia, and now we are trying to, let's say, get started with the small-scale campaign to get this money. But the thing that I'm trying to say is that now you can see that it's not like a systematic issue. It's not like that you are going to the Red Cross to pay the invoice for the hospital. It's not like, this is not the resolution. This is not, how to deal with things. The employer is still there. He didn't close his doors. I'm sure that he's not the only one who is doing the business like this. There are unfortunately, lots of cases when things like this not only happen, but can happen and still are happening. So this is one case which I'm trying to put into the perspective what in the framework, of reality is occurring when a worker which is posted through these very bad companies gets, let's say, into the situation when, for example, in his situation, he falls 5 meters deep and then he breaks his spine. So right now, he still has to pay 2,500 euros. Health Institute of Slovenia, that's it. The story for them, or from their perspective, is over. They just sent us not only email, but a formal declaration that they can do anything. They can't do anything. So we will see what will happen, in these couple of days, because right now we are trying to start this campaign. But as I'm saying, this situation really is not the solution that we are going through this, humanitarian organization to solve, the health issues of a posted worker. And when we were talking to the Health Institute of Slovenia, they were saying, yeah, but if this worker, the accident of this worker would happen in some other country, then there would be another case, and then maybe there could be a refund. But unfortunately, this situation happened in Belgium, and unfortunately, we cannot refund there. So as you can choose where to have an accident, so it's a bit of ironic issue. But this is, as I'm saying, only one case. There were several cases which we dealt with regarding the occupational injury of posted workers. There was one case, for example, in Germany, when, the worker didn't fall through the roof, but something from the construction site fell on him. So he basically broke his leg. And the first thing that was treated from the employer was that he just said to him, okay, you have to go home. And then when he was home, he was treated with, I don't know what kind of, in German they say Schnaps, really hard liquor. So, he didn't get drunk, but this liquor was poured on this man's leg. There are really several, really strange stories which can happen. Unfortunately, there are lots of cases when these workers simply disappear. So an employer, when this thing happens, he simply just puts this man or woman, man in the construction site in a car, then goes directly, for example, to Bosnia and Herzegovina, puts him in one hospital, and that's it. So I was saying, lots of cases that it would be quite interesting to make an interview with the medical staff from the Bosnia and Herzegovina, in how much cases did they receive these cases from the injured posted workers which were transferred immediately from Germany or from these countries like they were posted to. So I think that there is still really lots of issues to be resolved. And unfortunately, I would rather give you a positive example of Zakrudin's case that the things got resolved. He got the money refund. He got, refunded directly from the Health Institute of Slovenia. Then Health Institute of Slovenia claimed the money from the employer, so on and so forth. But this is in theory. So in practical, and now you can see what happened, that didn't happen, the other scenario happened, that basically we have to go to humanitarian organizations to resolve the basic human issues of this person. I'm trying to be as quick as possible because I'm really interested in your information, in your questions. So I think that if it's possible that we can open a bit of debate or questions and answers, or I'm trying to be, a little bit more than just a talker. So that's it from me. And if there are any questions or remarks or any further questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, I have two clarification questions. First of all, thank you for this presentation and, telling us all the details of horrible experiences of posted workers. But the first question I have is about this participation fee you said. Can you explain what that means? Because
I don't know.
Okay, so the whole fee was 50,000, but he still has to pay around 3,000. It's for being involved in the
hospital service in Belgium.
I see. So you don't know what that is?
That was the first question that we raised also to the Health Institute of Slovenia, and the first answer from the Health Institute was directly that if this is a participation, then it's non-refundable. Then, we ask, what the hell is that? So we got the receipt from the Belgian hospital, and there is stated in the receipt in Belgian hospital, if somebody could help me, with wording, I'm not familiar with this language. But at the end, it says 2,951 euros, and then it's the date and furthering, and then it's like a participation. And if somebody has the answer, what the hell is this? Please come forward, because...
Goran, maybe Carl can see
of course,
the paper?
Of course,
Is it possible?
Yeah, of course. You can translate the paper for us. Yeah, it's a working session, yes.
Well, while he has a quick look at the document, I can ask the other question. Who paid the other 50,000?
It's like, this is the fee which is refundable. So this is not a problem for the worker. He wouldn't pay this amount of money. Mm-hmm. But, the problem is this 2,951 euros.
No, so I wanted to know, was the employer involved, or is it covered by the welfare system
from the Health
Belgium?
Institute? From the Health Institute of Slovenia, yes. The employer is not involved here.
At all?
No, the employer is not involved here. We tried to, reverse, the thinking of the Health Institute that could you please, push to the employer that he would refund this money? It's his responsibility that he would take care of this construction site, and he didn't. But unfortunately, the Health Institute says, no, we don't have this possibility. The only possibility that did have is the direct refundation of the wage compensation for the time that he's being sick. So we did manage to get this direct compensation for monthly compensation from the Health Institute. We did get this, but this amount of money, it's still there to be paid. So, and here I have this the document from the Health Institute of Slovenia, and it says, yes, the Health Institute of Slovenia will be getting an invoice in the amount of 50,349 euros, while the amount of 2,930 euros represents the cost which the person has to pay by himself. So the amount of 50,000 euros is paid by the Health Institute, but the 2,051 euros, it's not paid. It's like a personal issue from the worker himself. Yeah.
And the other question, the second question, is related to, you said that he's a Bosnian citizen. How was he posted within the EU?
He has a permanent residence. He has a permanent residence here.
And that's enough to be posted?
Yeah. So that's, but he's now in Bosnia in the domestic care, and basically he doesn't have any means to do anything. So that's why we are really trying to resolve this issue of the money.
Thank you. Now, this seems to be a traditional way of arranging payment in slices for a person who is supposed to pay 122 euros per month of the 2,500, of the almost 2,500. So this is also only the supplement that the patient has to pay in the hospital. The total cost is a lot more, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I wonder how it could be that the total amount is not requested, but only the supplement, because the person apparently was not part of Belgian social security system. So I think it's a kind of gesture of the hospital that in a hidden way they take from the national sickness insurance, they take the money as if he was part of Belgian social insurance system. And they only ask him to pay the supplement. So and the best that can be done in that case is just paying the supplement and set up.
So
Because
the thing
otherwise the cost would be a lot more.
it could be worse then.
Yes.
It could be the case that he would be paying 50,000 euros.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In fact, this is a small percentage of the total cost that is asked to the patient. While
Well-
in principle they could as well have asked the total cost. That's my first impression when I see the document. And this is a traditional way of just people who did not pay their bills to just ask them, okay, we have a plan for you to pay it in slices, and that's about it.
Well, the answer that we got from the Belgian hospital is that this is the traditional, dealing. They do that also with the Belgian, Belgian workers. If that would happen to them, they would also have to pay like this. So, but at the end of the story,
Not exactly. No, when
Well,
the
this was the
Belgian
answer.
worker would have an occupational accident,
yeah.
the total amount is paid by the occupational accident insurance of the company. And
From the company.
This should be paid by the occupational accident insurance of this Slovenian company. And the
Well-
question is, why is this Slovenian company not paying or not insured or whatever?
Well, this is another issue. Lots of Slovenian companies, they don't have the insurance for the construction site. So, lots of them, they don't have that. It could be really good that they would have that, but they don't have. So the worker could claim that from the insurance, but it's not possible if there is no insurance.
Then in that case, my question would be, are there not any regulations in Slovenia that can, according to which the victim can bring his employer to court and ask that the employer pays the bill? Because
Well,
that's the only solution I see. But I can imagine there are regulations that
we are
allow
going.
the victim to do this.
We are going to this case, of course, to all the institutions, legal institutions. But as I'm saying, there is still the case when the Belgian hospital is saying, okay, you have to pay this bill. And unfortunately, the only thing that we did manage to do is that this bill is able to be paid in 24 amounts, like 24 by 122 euros. That is the only thing that we did manage. In parallel to that, of course, we are, going in legal issues with this employer. Of course, we are doing that.
Imagine that this worker would be working under the Belgian regulations, so not be a posted worker, but that he would contribute to Social Security in Belgium for at least a certain period. But okay, that can always be arranged. In that case, and that the company would be affiliated to a Belgian occupational accident insurance company, then the person would receive 150% because he needs the help of third persons of his salary for the rest of his days. And the bills would be completely covered by the occupational accident insurance system.
I can imagine that, yeah.
So unfortunately, he was posted, paying Social Security in his own country, where all these risks were not covered.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying that this is not, unfortunately, the only case. In lots of cases, unfortunately, we're getting also the cases where the workers simply don't know that they are being erased as workers from the Health Institute of Slovenia. So they are not, basically covered from the social insurance. So they're basically erased from the social insurance scheme. So what happens then? What if, for example, the Hudin, God forbid, would be erased from the social insurance scheme in Slovenia? That are cases which are also happening in Slovenia. Unfortunately, there are cases where the workers which are posted are being erased backwards for the months that they were working, for example, in Germany or Belgium, for several months back, they were being erased from the social insurance schemes. So what about their rights during that time if they would go, for example, to claim their rights about their injuries and, for example, hospital would say, oh, sorry, you're not insured. So there are lots of questions which are raising. We have concretely one case right now regarding that. A worker was posted to Germany. He was working there for 2 months, and he was erased from the social insurance in Slovenia after a couple of weeks. So and he didn't know that. What would happen if he would have, God forbid, health, let's say the same situation as the Hrudin, if he would, for example, fell from the roof and he wouldn't be insured. So there are lots of cases which, unfortunately, are still happening about posted workers, not only from Slovenia.
Another comment is that when he has to pay 122, so for that many days, I don't know exactly what is covered in the cost, but you should see the detailed bill of what was the total bill of the hospital. And
yeah, we did receive.
It could be that it was in a single room or so, I don't know. In that case, there is a supplement.
We did receive the total bill. The total bill was like, I think, 30 pages long, something like that. And of course, we didn't understand the word. So we tried to get in contact with the Belgian authorities and some Belgian organizations. They helped us with interpretation regarding all the bill, but it was really, really long. And it was really calculated per day what is in this calculation in these 50,000 euros. So we did get all the documentation. Yeah.
Well, it's the most interesting case, and it's very complex. To my knowledge, there are two ways, two possibilities to still attack the employer before court. The one way, attacking him in your country will be very difficult, I think, because of lacking of a regulation concerning the obligation to have that kind of coverage by a labor-related accident insurance policy.
Yeah.
So if that does not exist, I think you can only rely on the regulation, Belgium in this case, because the facts are happening in Belgium. The accident took place in Belgium, occurred in Belgium. In fact, it was also at the same time an infringement on the regulations. If a labor-related accident should be declared, which it has not been the case, apparently, so the victim has been taken in the hospital as usual, a common law accident, and has been treated as such. There's never been a declaration as a labor-related accident. I suppose that's what I hear. You can confirm that?
Well, regarding that, I think that he did receive confirmation about the accident. He did receive the documentation. The worker did receive, yes.
As an accident? Yeah. But was it declared by the employer as a labor-related accident?
Yeah, it was.
But he had not an insurance policy?
No.
So he's for fully 100% responsible?
I know.
As the facts that everything has taken place on the Belgian territory according to the Belgian law, he should be fully responsible for the whole cost. The cost is, in that case, not only the medical treatment or the supplement he has to pay, as Karl explained, the personal part has to be paid for the extra above the normal cost of the treatment. But there is also all the other things which are related to his back payment, the wages he did not receive anymore. Maybe he has been sacked, labor relation has been ended without notice. So there also he was entitled to a damage compensation. And he should be entitled even to other kinds of damage compensations because of the fact that he was not able to work anymore. So even moral grief should be a subject of a complaint in law and should bring up a lot of compensation. But how to do it? I think you could ask a lawyer, a Slovenian lawyer, to have contact with a lawyer in Antwerp, where it took place, and ask him to introduce a complaint, a civil complaint, not a penal one this time, because it makes no sense. The facts are gone, so if you have to prove the criminal act, the criminal aspects will be difficult, but the civil complaint will be much easier, and a Belgian lawyer in loco who takes responsibility, who takes the mandate to cover this issue before the court, should introduce a complaint, a civil complaint, before the civil court, the labor court in this case, and he should ask all those obligations who have not been fulfilled and which causes damage, so serious damage compensation. I think that's the only possibility in that case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think if you have a good file and there is no discussion about the facts, that's very important, that this case could be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But then what is very important in those kind of cases is passing of time. The more time is passing by, the more difficult it becomes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
We have another question here in the first line, so Nila. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like, so my question is there chain liability in Belgium? Goran already mentioned that these companies, they change their names and they re-register as someone else, like even by name 1 and 2. So they might not exist anymore, and it might be difficult to pursue even a civil suit. But then would the main contractor in Belgium be able to take this responsibility and, you know, reimburse the worker? So it seems like it's more complicated than just...
It's getting more and more complicated,
Yeah.
yes.
But that's the main thing with these subcontractors. They just disappear if they have issues like that.
Yeah, but thank you very much for all these informations, because, you know, it's, you know, the thing that that's why we are here, to exchange these informations, and I'm sure that we will get in direct contact with the, you know, Belgian lawyers. If you have one quite good, then please give me his contact or her contact.
One comment is that, as Philip explained, when what Philip suggests is being done or would be done, it would be a considerable incitement for Slovenian employers to take an occupational accident insurance in case they will post workers somewhere. It would be a precedent, and that could be very important to go on with this case. And then I have a question whether labor inspection was asked when the accident occurred. Was labor inspection asked in some way to go and visit the place? What normally should be done?
Yeah, they were asked. They were asked. Yeah. So you mean, of course, the Belgian labor inspector?
And was there any criminal case issued from that visit?
The last information that we got, they are still gathering the documentation. The last information that we got. So there is no case which is now, you know, actual case that I have the information. No. There were also Slovenian labor inspectorate contacted, so we are still wondering what is happening in this side of the border, so the Slovenian case. So the things are, you know, not doing, you know, it's quite slowly. You know, the authorities are, you know, reacting quite slowly.
It is.
Okay, we still have some 3 or 4 minutes. If there is an additional question, comment. No?
Okay. No, I will. Yeah.
Maybe I have just a question. What would be the reaction, or what would be going on if, in case this worker would be dead or would, I don't know, if somebody dies when he's posted, like in this case, if
well, I can say
Josic would die.
Well, we had one case. I wouldn't dare to think about this case, being ended in this way. But we did have one case. It wasn't about construction work. It was about one mobile worker. It was a truck driver. He was a truck driver, and he ran into a wall in Germany. He basically fell asleep during his, working time, and he died instantly. He died instantly. It was a Slovenian company. Still is a Slovenian company. And the biggest problem that we have was still the money problem, because there was like 600 or 700 euros to transfer the body from Germany to Macedonia, and the employer didn't want to hear of paying this bill. So we really had to push for the employer to pay this bill. But on the other side, the law is quite clear. Also the labor law is quite clear that it's responsibility of the employer. But it's not stating what happens in the case if the worker is dead. So it's quite I'm trying to be here a little bit direct, harsh, but this is the case that we encountered, and it was really a horrific situation for the family, because they really wanted to bury him as soon as possible, and they were trying to get the money from their family members. I don't know from where, but okay, we were able to get the money from the employer. It was 600 euros, and this was the issue. So it's not only about the direct questions, it's also about the questions which simply don't arise in your head, because it says, how is this possible? It's not in your reality. How is this possible to happen? But it happened in this case, and it was about we were pressuring this employer for about 2 or 3 weeks. What the hell are you doing? So at the end, okay, I wouldn't say it was a happy story, but this was the case about this worker. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go, in this scenario about Zahrudin, because he's in really bad situation right now, and also I'm repeating myself right now. Also, I wouldn't, I wouldn't go again, to this situation, trying to deal this issue through humanitarian organizations. It's simply not correct. It's really not correct to do these issues like this, to go to public, to ask the public to, please give us some money for Zahrudin. This is not the solution. It's really not the solution. Okay.
Thank you, Goran, and also thank you for your comments. We will have now a 5 minutes break, and then we will continue with the first section. Okay.